don't know me, I'm Tim Robinson, and I'm Chief Operating Officer at Tech East. And this is Tech and Toast, so Tech East's fortnightly breakfast networking session. Lovely to see so many people this morning. I hope you're all enjoying the magnificent weather. And the theme today is all about the East of England and what an absolutely great place this is to start and grow a tech business or a tech intensive business. I know quite the definition of tech business is shifting all the time and broadening, but we have got a dream team of founders and senior execs from some of the region's most exciting tech businesses to share some of their stories and insights and news with you. Got a really nice diverse range of businesses and speakers today. We have 5 for you. Toby will introduce them in a moment's time. But just in case you haven't seen it, I can highly recommend a quick read of the 12 Clusters of Tech report on the East of England, which was published a couple of weeks ago, featuring 18 businesses from the region and some sort of narrative about kind of what's going on, which we put together with London Tech Week and with the UK Tech Cluster Group. And it is an interesting read if you have a little moment to have a look at that. So I'm going to put that in the chat, if I can find my chat. And there's the link. So do take a look at that. But without further ado, it is my pleasure to hand over to our generous sponsors, Jefferson Frank and Toby. Drake is going to say a few words as Toby.
Brilliant, thanks Tim. Good morning everyone, thanks again for joining. Loads of great speakers on today's show, so I'm going to try and give a very kind of high level overview of us and what we do and how we operate in the market, and then obviously introduce all our wonderful speakers today towards the end. I'm just going to share my screen. Tim, if you can just let me know once you can see that.
It's coming, I think. Yes.
Perfect. There we go. Brilliant.
Okay.
Brilliant. So yeah, as Tim mentioned, I'm from Jefferson Frank. We are the only sort of AWS specific recruitment agency. We're part of a much wider group, and as I say, I'm going to give a high level overview of that wider group today. But very, very sort of small amount of time, so there's not a huge amount of detail I can go into. I've just put my details into the chat. I would recommend everyone do that. I'm always keen to network. Please do feel free to reach out cover or anything you want more detail on. So I'm Toby Drake. I'm one of the recruitment consultants. I am AWS certified and sort of specialise within the East of England region. As a company, we're global. We cover everywhere, but part of our approach is very much making sure that we are embedded within the ecosystem and within our market. So that's my specialist area, and obviously know Tim very well as the AWS territory managers. So who are Jefferson Frank? So as I mentioned, we're an AWS specific recruiter. We're actually part of the Frank recruitment group, which I'll come on to a little bit in the next slide. And our focus is very much about filling that skills gap. We've worked very hard to align ourselves with AWS. We follow a lot of their values and try and embody those values in terms of being very customer centric and not just being your typical recruitment agency, but being more of a consultancy and really trying to add value a little bit outside the box in terms of we're not just a case of just flooding your inboxes with CVs. We try and be a partner to your business and help on a much wider scale. A few details on the screen there. I think some of the big things are we cover anywhere in terms of the AWS talent, that whether that's in your sort of DevOps or the developer realms, or right through to data science and project management, sales, pre-sales, etc. We do a lot of work, and our budget is very focused on increasing our reach within the market. We've got 100,000 plus candidates on our database, and each of our consultants is really specialist within this area and focuses very much on getting to know their market, but also the technologies that they're working with. In terms of our business model, we refer to it as talent as a service. A little tongue-in-cheek there, I guess. But in terms of that, and I think the diagram there kind of really demonstrates what I was trying to say about customer centric. So we try to think outside the box. As a brand, we are very much focused on creating that and filling that skills gap. We also have a company called Revelant, who is a sister company owned by our sort of holding group, and their focus is on putting new talent into the ecosystem. As we all know, talent and tech is moving at a rapid pace, and it's really just trying to keep adding to the ecosystem. And then we've used Rebura as an example there, as a partner, and trying to work directly with partners and AWS in terms of their model, how they do a lot of their work through the partner network. And again, something I'll come on to in the next slide, but that's very much how we align our business is supporting partners and supporting projects, and rather than just being you kind of run-of-the-mill agency. So Jefferson Frank and AWS, as I've touched on a few times already, we really focus on aligning ourselves with our vendor. We are the only AWS accredited technology partner as a recruitment agency, which is pretty unheard of. And on the right-hand side there, you can just see all of the various different incentives and schemes that we're involved with directly with AWS to support all the AWS customers within not only the East of England but across the globe. One thing to touch on is our work with the AWS Activate program. So it's a program specifically aimed at startups. It's something that we're on the Activate dashboard, and you can use us as an accredited partner in terms of getting access to exclusive discounts and things like that. If that's something you are interested in, or something that's relevant to you, then please do let me know, and I can put you in touch with the relevant people at AWS. It's a fantastic scheme just to help get you started on AWS and give you that boost and help scale up your business. Finally, a yearly market report. We call it a salary survey, but it is so much more than that. It really, as I say, goes real deep dive into the ecosystem. There's some great articles from various different AWS heroes or various different experts within the field. QR code is on the screen. Definitely recommend having a download. We've actually just released our extended version of that, so there's some new goodies in there. So if you've already got it, have another look. There's a few more articles and things like that. Thank you. As I mentioned, any questions, please do feel free to get in contact. My email's on the screen, but I've also put my phone and LinkedIn there, so please add me and get in touch. Love to hear from as many of you as possible. So to our speakers today, as I say, we're really gifted today. We've got a huge number of speakers. I'll go through them. So we've got Anne Buckingham from EO Charging. We've got Sarah Minty from Developing Experts. Charlie and Kylos have joined us from EPOS Now. Darren has joined us for VividQ. And without further ado, I'm going to hand over to Rob from Naked Wines. Yeah, can't wait to hear. Thanks, guys.
Great. Thank you, Toby. I am going to attempt to share a screen really quickly. If it doesn't work, it's not the end of the world.
Looking good, Rob.
Is that looking good? Is that a nice stripy screen for everyone?
It's stripy, it's good.
Excellent. Okay, so I know I've only got 5 minutes or so this is going to truly lightning. I thought I'd give you a bit of a lightning tour of the Naked tech team and the story of Naked's growth and the tech team's growth along with it. Naked was founded in 2008 by Rowan Gormley, and Rowan was actually part of the team that launched Virgin Direct, that became Virgin Money, and Virgin One Account, eventually acquired by RBS and people like that, but has been a really big tech presence within the local area as well. So that's almost where the story begins. But actually Rowan then moved into the world of wine with Virgin Wines initially, but then set out on his own to launch Naked Wines with 11 others in 2008. The founding tech team were people that Rowan and Derek Hardy, who was the founding CTO, had met as part of their journey with Virgin Direct, really. So people that embodied that same kind of entrepreneurial, go get it spirit that you get with people working for disruptive businesses, I think, really. And then as the tech team needed to expand, the Naked leveraged the UEA's excellent computer science program, really, and was able to pick up some great talent in bit by bit as the team grew, and a lot of those are with us still today. I'll come on to that a little bit later on, but and you'll see that theme go throughout our journey, really. So going on to 2012, we set out to make Naked a global business, launching in America and Australia. We originally actually had ideas that that we would run technology teams alongside those businesses out in Australia and in the US. But actually we found that it was much harder than we expected to find talent out in those areas, particularly on the West Coast of the US. Technology talent's pretty expensive. So actually we reverted back to a UK-centric and actually Norwich-centric technology team, building a platform and building a team that could support a global business, and as it has done really successfully for the next 10, 11 years after that. Coming on to 2015, I guess, is the next big milestone for Naked. So Naked was acquired by Majestic Wines at this point. As part of that deal, really, Majestic was looking at Naked's technology platform and the talent that Naked had, and really wanted to modernize its own platform as well. So as part of that, we actually expanded Naked's technology team to support the Majestic business as well. We doubled the number of engineers in the team, added dedicated QA for the first time, and things like that. Again, as part of that process, the local technology ecosystem really helped us. So dipping into another fairly significant cohort of UEA grads was really successful for us, and extended slightly before that, the acquisition, but as part of that as well, extending the technology leadership team as well. So again, these are people that had cut their teeth in that local tech ecosystem, mainly working in financial services, it's fair to say, but easily found those skills transferable into the retail and the e-commerce space. Again, and it just felt like we were able to dip into that. It's kind of I call it entrepreneurial or kind of go get it attitude that I think comes from working with the disruptive businesses that they came out of places like Aviva and Virgin and things like that. Interestingly enough, the next milestone on my list is the separation from Majestic. So it felt like a long time for me, but I don't think it was in business terms. 3 years later, the businesses went their separate ways. So it's complicated enough, but the Majestic business took on the Naked Wines name. I think saw it as a stronger brand and a stronger proposition for the future, and then sold off its retail stores and the Majestic brand. So put Naked in a really strong position then financially, and running a 100% online direct-to-consumer wine business. So again, could have been a scary time having grown the team to support Majestic, but actually it wasn't. The growth of Naked during those 3 years as well meant we were able to retain the size of the technology team but focus them all on the e-commerce business that was left. I think bringing things up to almost present day, again, taking on, having completed that separation, put ourselves in a strong position, and the desire to capitalize on the opportunities that we have in the US. The Naked business was growing really well in the US anyway, but the last 12 months and pandemic fueled wine buying has enhanced that somewhat. So again, trying to capitalize on that. We're investing in the growth of the business, but the great thing from a technology perspective for us is that our leadership has really seen that the technology platform is an enabler for that growth. So is investing in technology and our technology platform, as you know, rather than just investing in marketing and customer acquisition. So that's allowed us to embark on some bigger projects around transforming our technology platform. It's seen us build the team again of adding another 15 or 20 people in the last 9 months, working with a local recruitment partner, but actually starting to look more national for talent. And the interesting thing I think from that is that even when we cast our net across the whole country, we were still picking people up from the east and from Norwich, so it was Ipswich, Cambridge, Norwich, and I think that just shows the kind of the strength of talent in there, that if you look nationally, you're still, you know, that you're still finding people here in the eastern region. And the other thing that I'm really proud of that we've been able to do as part of the more recent growth is some of the graduates that I've talked about that joined us from 2012 onwards, really. They're starting to step into technical leadership roles, senior technical positions and things like that. So that's been a really nice thing to see as the business has grown and those people have grown inside Naked as well. I think the future for us, we're dipping our toe into the US market again. Our offices in the US are moving to Denver, so it gives us a few more opportunities. But I think it's safe to say that we see the UK, the East and Norwich as being the centre, and the centre for enablement, as I'd say on that slide. We're kind of the core of our knowledge and our skills are here in the East and in Norwich. So we see that continuing for the foreseeable future. An exciting
Brilliant,
time.
Rob. Yeah. Well, I've been a Naked Wines customer for 5 or 6 years, and I love Naked Wines. So the whole, you know, the whole simplicity of it, and I can see why, you know, it was so attractive to Majestic. But it's a really interesting story, and I think what I take out of that is that brands and businesses and ownership kind of come and go, and structures change, but you know, it's the people that's kind of the people that persist. And I think what you just said about, you know, trying different methods or different approaches in order to grow the team, grow your capability, and also into new markets. It's not like a straight line. It's not a linear thing. There are sort of ups and downs and changes. And I think that's a great start. And it just goes to show, I think, why Naked Wines was a clear choice for an established leader for the 12 Clusters of Tech report. So thank you, Rob. And also thank you for giving up this morning when I know you're supposed to be on holiday, which is going beyond the call of duty.
Very glad to be here. Thank you.
This is what we like to see. Right. Next up, we're going to move. We're going to move geographically, and we're going to also move into a different realm of tech. And we're going to move over in the direction of Cambridge. And Darren Milne from VividQ is going to share a little of the VividQ story. And I don't know how many of you know VividQ, but if you don't, in the 5 or 6 minutes time, you should have a pretty good idea of what they do in the world of 3D holographic displays. And, you know, we were very pleased to have VividQ featured in the report. And incidentally, before I do, I must thank Faye Holland, particularly, who is on the call. Hi, Faye. And the team at Cofinitiv for their generous support and time given to help put this report together. We could not have done it without Faye, so thank you very much. All right, Darren, over to you.
Thank you, Tim. So hello, everybody. As Tim says, my name is Darren Milne. I'm the CEO and co-founder of VividQ, which is a deep tech startup based out of Cambridge. So Tim has already said this word holographic display, which has several connotations that I'm going to elaborate on. So we're looking to bring about an entire revolution in display technology. So forever, what we've done is look at what we're looking at now, some 2D array of pixels that form some image. But this isn't how we really perceive the real world. When I look out my window here, I don't see a big array of pixels giving me information. What I see are lots of light rays bouncing all over, coming from the sun and other light sources that somehow amalgamate to form what I see in the world. So if I were to design, say, the perfect display system, something that would exactly mimic how we see the real world, the question is, how would I go about doing that? Well, I would want to do that. I'd want to somehow be able to control light extremely precisely and be able to create a fully formed 3-dimensional image midair, like you see in the movies, and then direct that towards your eye. That's what we mean by holographic display, and that is the thing we're developing. Now, the surprising thing, I guess, is from a hardware standpoint, that's actually not that hard. One can buy the components you need to make one of these holographic displays to create these fully 3-dimensional midair illusions just off the shelf. The really difficult part, it turns out, is in the software. So being able to compute how to navigate the light in precise enough patterns to produce these holographic images turns out to be enormously complex. And that's kind of where our story starts. So back in 2016, I was doing some research in the optics department of Cambridge University, and I met some guys there who were already working on holographic display, and they were and they had very ably made some very nice hardware, and we could see holograms, and it was great. But what we couldn't do was make them run anything like as fast as would be required for a real use case to make them interactive. To give you an idea, it was taking several quite large computers to generate even a single hologram inside a couple of hours. So we set about solving that problem, because if holographic display were ever to be a realistic prospect, if we're ever to be able to have, you know, a Minority Report style board where I could move things around in air, or have Princess Leia telling us she needs help on the carpet, this thing would have to run fast. And so we started on an initiative to produce a new set of algorithms backed up by an entire software platform that would then give us what we refer to as real-time holographic display that can be entirely interactive and in high quality. And so that's exactly what we did. So we kicked off the company in 2017, established our own premises and so forth. And at the time we were a team of 6 people, mainly PhD grads out of numerous universities, including Cambridge in the UK. And we set about growing the team, bringing in more technical expertise and later on some commercial expertise. And from those initial days of a very hacky prototype where we made effectively a holographic teleconferencing application where we set up a 3D camera to scan a person, and then we're able to produce a hologram of them on the other side of the room. These days we have far more elaborate demonstrations that we've built on top of that. And so we're focused on essentially 3 main markets. We're looking, first of all, at augmented reality. So I'm sure you've all seen this concept of you can wear a headset and see virtual images overlaid in the room with you. So this is one clear application. Perhaps a more surprising application is within the automotive industry, where we work with several automotive OEMs on head-up displays. So being able to use the entire windshield of your car as a display, so you can see navigation and safety information through the windshield instead of having to look down your dashboard. And then moving beyond that, we have, well, in our opinion, the slightly more exciting prospect of fully 3D gaming. So instead of sitting here just looking at a laptop, I would see 3-dimensional images bursting out of the screen, so I could interact with them in the room. And so this is all now being developed at VividQ. We've grown since 2017 to a team of just over 40, about 4/5 tech and the rest on commercial. And we've expanded geographically as well. So most of our customers are in the US, Japan, and China, because we collaborate directly with major consumer brands as well as OEMs and ODMs who are doing all the manufacturing on our behalf. So I guess the good news is holographic display is something that will be available within the next 2 to 3 years, probably in an automotive context first within head-up display type applications. Yeah, that's kind of our story so far. We've seen huge success within the Cambridge ecosystem. Of course, it's an excellent place to start a company, both in terms of funding, because there are many VCs here, and there's also great links to London to access that big investment pool as well. You know, there are various great networks like Cambridge Enterprise as well that could put people in contact with those. But of course, what's even more pivotal for us right now is the talent source. So we have a collaboration with the university that's been ongoing since the start of the company. And through them, we're able to access PhD and master's students who are able to work with us on internships and do really astonishing work as part of their studies that further our business at, I'm glad to say, a very low burn rate to us. So yeah, being in Cambridge is a definite benefit. We're always going to keep our technical base here. As I say, we're expanding now into the US and Japan and having business development and sales units there. But our technical heart will always be here because this is where all the talent is, and we're going to continue growing that. So I think that's it for that.
Thanks, Darren. Well, and thank you for explaining what you do so succinctly and clearly. And those are very exciting use cases. Obviously, the Minority Report screen, were I to have one, would make my life quite a lot better, I think. So please, could we have one of those as soon as you've got the sort of prototype mocked up?
It's already in progress.
Oh, good. Good. And just just drawing a couple of threads out there, a lot of conversation about talent, discussion about investment and VC in Cambridge being dense and productive. We can perhaps pick up on that in the Q&A and panel bit later as to what extent that effect is getting outside of Cambridge, or to what extent it's still only within it. But also the point about the US and expansion. This is very much on my mind at the moment as we're starting to develop through Techie some relationships with specific clusters around the world. I know Rob mentioned Denver, Colorado. Darren, where are you looking to expand through the US?
It's mainly the West Coast, so it's yeah. As you can imagine, the kind of companies interested in applying this technology tend to be your tech giants.
Okay.
And frankly, those are the only people with the real muscle to be able to really do an industry-wide change, because we are talking about a fundamental shift from how we do technology. So it won't be a case that I'll look at my mobile phone anymore. It'll look like images are literally leaping off the screen at you. And that requires a shift in the hardware, which means you have to go talk to, Samsung, Google, Apple, these kinds of guys in order to get that done.
That is exciting. Now, we are going to, again, we're going to shift focus to Epos Now, who are, I think, pretty well known in Norwich and pretty well known increasingly in the UK, because everywhere I go now I see, at least now that the pubs and restaurants are open, I see Epos Now terminals and software everywhere. And Charlie and Carlos from Epos Now are going to talk a little bit about Epos Now's story and what they're up to, which is pretty exciting. So over to you.
Brilliant. Cheers, Tim. Hi, guys. I'm the operations director here, and Carlos is our director of marketing. I made about 3 pages for our story, but then I saw the 6-minute slot. So I've not done slides. That's the only way it's going to keep this under time. And Carlos is stealing 50% of my limelight. So I'm feeling a bit tight. But as Tim said, our story is, I guess, well known in this region. Like Naked Wines, we've been here over a decade now. We founded in 2011, for those that don't know. We just above a bar on Benedict Street, and then we moved to Prince of Wales, the infamous street in the middle of Norwich, and we managed to part ourselves subconsciously in the student's mind as we were next to a nightclub. So as 2015 came and I finished university, I somehow found myself applying to Epos Now. I think it's because in the queue to the nightclub, Epos Now's logo was right next to me every Thursday night. So we really found ourselves a home in Norwich, and we moved out of the city centre, just sort of an off-site area. But really, we were born out of frustration, and the technology in the hospitality and retail industry 10 years ago was still localized. It wasn't in the cloud, and cloud is not getting old, but it's probably running out of time, and we'll move on soon. But really, what I wanted to talk about today was probably the last 12 months rather than push on the previous kind of 10 years. We've scaled. We've been in Norwich for a long time. We've employed almost 250 people locally, but in the last 12 months alone, I guess if we address the coronavirus piece and how technology has helped us grow, but also our customers grow. Toby, we moved across to AWS in late 2019, so I'll be giving you a call later. That was really to allow us to scale as our customer numbers grew exponentially. Then come February, we all got the bad news, and we were worried about how our market would react. How would hospitality and retail react in the face of lockdowns? But actually, they just turned to technology. So what did we do? In the last 12 months, we invested over £1 million in development in terms of resource and technology. In this area alone, we employ 65 developers, all based in Norwich. Our entire technical infrastructure is run from here. We're now supporting over 40,000 businesses. I think the report says 30,000. So what we've actually done in the last 12 months is grown almost 100%. So bearing in mind the industry shut down, we still managed to grow 100%. And that's just through launching new technology, allowing retailers to sell online, remote ordering software, but also a lot of those businesses that that were unable to track their customers and track their revenue. They needed our technology. And where we've spent the last sort of 6 months is looking at where the industry goes. And the reason we can do that really is our relationship with the UBA. I think there's a couple of people on here that I've met previously. Some will know me from teaching fitness at UEA for many years. However, our relationship with the UEA just gives us almost an unlimited pool of talent every single year, and being able to tap into those, I guess, those special people on their doorstep. We keep talent in Norwich, but also we give people careers as well. A lot of our graduates from UEA, similar to Naked Wines, have progressed into senior leadership roles within development. Myself managed to move through the organisation as well and push us forward. So where do we go to? Why do we need this team of development? Not just for our regular releases. We release every 3 weeks to improve the technology for the industry. It moves so fast, but actually we want to move to the consumer. And I think this is what's exciting for Norwich. We want to get into your pockets. You guys shop in our stores all the time, as Tim says, and actually you wouldn't know it, but actually how do we create a network of the high street? So Tesco's huge supermarket player, but what about all those small independent convenience stores? What about all those small and independent restaurants and bars? We can connect all of them and their customers. We can connect them to their suppliers. So what we're trying to do now is adjust our technology to not just be that terminal that you see when you pay for your meal, but actually we want to get into your pockets and give you guys a really good experience and when you work with our customers. That's it from me. I didn't want to dress on the history because I'm sure it's gone through 1,000 times for everyone. So on the international expansion, Carlos is going to take hold of that and just talk through what we've done as well.
Yeah, I think the narrative for me is just so much different because I'm almost outside looking in for the whole region. I'm actually remote. I'm one of the rare cases at EPOS now that has never been to the physical office due to the pandemic. And it's really interesting when you look at someone like myself from an e-commerce background, from working in FMCGs and big tech, and then coming into EPOS now in this road to growth where we're building this international expansion from a business that's still very deeply connected to the original region, like Charlie put it, but we are hiring worldwide talents, and we're still keeping that notion that there isn't a lack of talent in the region. It's just that the talent that there is probably very well suited to either our company or other companies, and we're forced to kind of expand out. But it's a like-for-like comparison. I think a really good learning we've had is that perception that sometimes you need to hire talent from a specific region to thrive is not really the case. For us, it was more of an availability thing than anything else, of being able to hire a CRM manager faster or a specific head of content faster from a marketing perspective, and not necessarily that those people were better than anyone in the region. So it's a really interesting perspective that I think I've gathered over the last 12 months or so, that through this international expansion of really hiring people from all over the world, really, not only remote in the UK, but very, very scattered throughout Europe, even from a tech perspective, that you realize the region is really, really healthy in terms of talent, but the expansion that EPOS is kind of forced on itself has made us have to hire abroad. That being said, I think that there needs to be almost a UK shift in mindset to really understand that there aren't only tech hubs in London and Manchester and potentially Cambridge as the sexiest regions from a traditional standpoint, but that is definitely shifting into the east, and I think that kind of belongs to all of us to kind of seduce people into this. I know I've had my fair share of conversation over the last 12 months recruiting people and talking to former colleagues of mine that have that mentality of, okay, I want to step up in my career. I think London's going to be the place to do it. I think luckily enough, the pandemic was our friend in that sense and really helped us catapult different businesses that are extremely successful, but maybe didn't have the physical location to theoretically support that. yeah, I think that's the segue into the next story here. But yeah, it's been a pleasure to talk with you all. I'll add my details on the chat, and it's definitely something that if you guys have anything to chat about in terms of talents, the PostNow journey, or anything else in general, be happy to grab some time outside of here.
Carlos, thank you, and Charlie, thank you. Brilliant. I mean, this could not be going better from my point of view, because you're saying all the things that I would want you to say. I think that bit about mindset shift, absolutely. And I love the phrase, that it's sort of, or the idea that it's on all of us to seduce people into these businesses, into this region, because we've got everything here. We've got a fantastic array. And that sort of proactive seduction approach, I think, is something that perhaps is perhaps either underrated or perhaps misunderstood. But it's absolutely it's a competitive environment. So loving that, love the PostNow story, and I know PostNow are on a kind of going on a sort of stratospheric growth curve, much deserved. Right, talking of stratospheric growth. It's over to Sarah from Developing Experts, different type of business and different type of market altogether in ed tech, schools. We love Developing Experts. If you don't know Developing Experts, then do follow Sarah on LinkedIn and follow them on Twitter, because every week I'm seeing great numbers in terms of penetration in UK schools and beyond. So Sarah, over to you.
Yeah, thanks, Tim, and thanks for organising this morning's Tech and Toast. I think you're doing a great job for the region, flying the flag. Yeah, so in 2000, just to give you a bit of an overview of when and how the whole company was formed, back in 2014, I was researching the jobs market in Great Yarmouth, and found that for every hairdressing vacancy that existed, there were 10 kids locally qualified for that position. And yet for every level 2 engineering post, a post worth 3 times the starting salary, there wasn't a single local young person that had the talent they needed to access that opportunity. And it just occurred to me there was a real disconnect between what was being taught in schools and what was being offered by the local economy. And what I wanted to do as a former head teacher is come up with a solution that enabled the silos of society to connect together. So what we've done is created a solution that enables employers, governments, training pathway providers, parents, students, pupils, and parents to come together in a way that really enables industry to strategically plan for their economic futures, and to do it in a way where career choice is no longer left to chance. It's no longer left to who your parents happen to be, or who you're connected to, or who you know. So that was the motive, and how we've come up with a solution, and what we've done to come up with a solution for that is we've created a science curriculum for children ages 4 to 16 years. Key Stage 4 launches in September. And then we've created a careers platform for the whole family. So this is not just a school product, it's a product that is designed to bring about societal change. So it's for everybody. So this is about really connecting industries, connecting all those silos, as I said, to come together in a way that really enables a government to strategically plan for the future. I mean, one of the things, when I started, I thought, right, if I was starting to create an educational system that was fit for purpose back in 2015, this was, what would it look like? And at the time, China was building a huge wind farm off the coast. It was a £100 billion wind farm. And what they do in China at the moment is if they need talent to build a wind farm, they look for the technicians they need, and then they just plonk the parent from one province and put them in another province, rather than actually grow the talent local to where it's needed. And I thought, wow, government needs a way of growing the talent in a way that connects the local opportunity with the needs and the talent. So that's the motive, and that's what got us going. And so the platform's been set up in a way that enables a government to centrally set, track and monitor the performance of each child, class, year group, group of schools in real time. And then it's also been set up in a way that enables our industry partners to track by socioeconomic deprivation and by postcode generic data that enables them to see what the future talent pipeline looks like. And to illustrate that, the most simplest way, there are 7 nuclear power stations in the UK. One of those is currently under construction, Hinkley Point C, and the 6 are open. But if you look at the average age of the station managers that are open, they're all over 55. And so we know that the next station power manager, based on the development cycle for Hinkley Point C, the age of that individual is currently age 7, and they're in year 4 at school. So we know where to place the message of nuclear in the curriculum and where to place it geographically. And so what we're now doing is deliberately seeking out industry sectors that have those government sector deals in order to enable them to grow their future talent pipelines. So we're delighted last year that we're appointed by the rail sector to actually grow their future talent pipeline. And we've built the Routes into Rail platform, which is fully integrated into the Developing Experts platform. The Developing Experts platform is currently used by 5,600 schools. So it means that over a quarter of schools in the UK are using our platform. So it means we've got really good reach. And then this year, this month, we kick off a partnership with the Nuclear Strategy Steering Group in order to grow their future talent pipelines. We're currently talking with 6 different sectors who want our solution. So the year ahead is super exciting for us, and we're looking forward to actually growing the company over the next few months. So yeah, in a nutshell, Tim, that is our story. That's our product solution. Yeah, so welcome. Any questions later on in the chat?
Brilliant. Wow. God, it kind of blows my mind how actually the last year, my understanding of Developing Experts, which was sort of online science lessons, which was the sort of the feature, actually the benefits are quite profound from what you described for employers and industries. And I just think it's wonderful that this is kind of coming, this is coming from the world of tech and world of education, and potentially will break down some of those massive issues in this whole skills environment that we hear so much noise about. And it's great to hear such a clear signal from Developing Experts that you're on this, and your solution is clearly exceptionally interesting and exciting. Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you.
Now, we have from EO Charging, who's going to tell us about EO charging, and again, talk about exciting areas, electric vehicles, the convergence of electric and autonomous vehicles in the future, things that Darren's been touching on in terms of automotive. Who knew that in Suffolk, in Stowmarket, we have one of the most exciting electric vehicle scale-ups in the UK and possibly in the world, and Anne's going to tell us all about it.
Hey, thank you very much. I'm absolutely delighted to be here today, and what a tough gig to follow some of the sessions that I've just listened to. So absolutely, as a devout signed up Naked Wine's wine angel, really good to get the early overview. And as a parent of a UEA student at the moment, also really encouraged by the engagement of businesses that we're talking with today in terms of looking for young talent. For EO, it's also got a fantastic history and a fantastic story for the region. So founded by Charlie Jardine, who is our infuriatingly young CEO, in 2015. Charlie started off his career working at one of the UK's early charge point manufacturers, but he knew fairly quickly as a new young recruit that it could be done better. The charge points could be more reliable. So he then set up in the pig shed on his grandfather's farm in Suffolk, and he spent the next year looking at developing a reliable AC charging product that he could bring to the market. And that gave us EO's first EV charger. So he worked with local supply chain in Suffolk to get manufacturing and fabricating support, and he started to build a team of talent from the local area, so from Suffolk and from Cambridgeshire. So for me, I've worked in this sector for almost 10 years, and in the early part of that career would be a common occurrence to be talking to sustainability and transport managers and having a fantastic discussion about the future of low emission vehicles. But almost without exception, I would come out of those meetings, I would walk down through reception, and there would be someone that would say, it's not really going to take off though, is it, this EV thing? You know, fast forward to where we are, and we're seeing a really different story. So Tesla have revolutionized the sector for us with cars, and Arrival have revolutionized the sector for us with buses that are cool. And I think that's absolutely what EO have approached the market to do. Yes, with hardware, but also with software. And I'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. But from the market growth perspective, from those early days where people laughed at the Renault and the Nissan and the milk float jokes that got a bit tired quite quickly, you know, we've seen a huge commitment of large corporations to move their fleets to electric. They absolutely see the benefit, not only environmental benefit and the care and the will of their customer base and the local communities that they're working in. They absolutely see the total cost of ownership and the financial economic benefit. So we saw EV100 launch in 2017. And for those that don't know, that's a global initiative for large corporations to make public their commitment to move towards full fleet electrification. And that gives organizations like EO and CEOs like Charlie the confidence to invest as heavily as they have, knowing that those fleets are committing to electrification over the next decade. So along with the 2030 commitment from the EV100 group, we're seeing customers bring that forward. So Amazon, for example, have brought that right forward to 2022. The Co-op, another one of our customers, have brought that forward to 2025. Uber, DHL, BT, we're already talking to those guys about their plans to be fully electric by 2030. So even more excitingly around that link between public transport. So people are buying personal cars, commercial businesses are seeing the importance of commercial vans, but people aren't going to want to drive an electric vehicle for home, an electric vehicle for work, and then get on a diesel bus. That's really going to be unacceptable to the population moving forward. So I think the sector has spotted that. The vehicles are now coming through, and they have brought forward their 2030 commitment to 2025, saying that from then they will only buy low emission buses. So fast forward Charlie's journey to 2021, I joined the EO team at the beginning of this year, and I was employee number 106. By the end of this year, we expect to exceed 200 employees. And we are absolutely one of the sector's leading fleet electrification companies. I'll talk very briefly about where we're focusing our proposition, but really the message about links to UEA, links to local talent, is our absolute demand and desire for quality software developers to join the team. And it is a rare talent, and we need to make sure that it is local. We have opened a Shoreditch office so that we can have two bases to draw on, but it is an absolute critical part of our growth. So while we continue to develop and focus our product on AC charging infrastructure, which is absolutely where Charlie started this from, a significant proportion of our investment has been focused on evolving us from a hardware business through to a software and service business. And that has direct implication for the people that we're trying to attract. So our teams provide technical feasibility and design consultancy for fleet operators to help them navigate the requirements for fleet electrification. So simply, how much power do they need on their site? How many chargers do they need? When do they need them? And where and how fast do they need to charge? So we support these customers with energy supply upgrades, with installation, and most importantly, with fleet management software and software that integrates with their telematic systems, software that optimizes and manages their fleet charging scheduling so that they can make economic decisions about the size of the energy connections they put in on their site, a massive impact on their ability to electrify their fleets. Software that manages return to home fleet charging, so measuring, reporting, reconciling their employees' business mileage with company fleet vehicles, making these things simple for organisations. And we make sure that we work with the best in class across the business, across the sector. So we, of course, think that our chargers are the best in class, but we know we don't cover everything. So we work with Tritium, Schneider, Delta, ABB to integrate their DC Rapid and their big pantograph chargers into our truck and bus depot electrification projects. So again, just to summarise, from Charlie in the pig shed in Suffolk, we've now sold over 35,000 chargers to over 30 different countries worldwide. We're delivering a programme of bus depot electrification projects for one of the UK's largest transport operators, and we're working with Alexander Dennis, one of the largest bus and coach manufacturers. We're partnered with Octopus Energy and Bulb Energy to provide home chargers to their energy supply customers to help simplify the transition to an electric vehicle for their customers. And most recently, leaving a highlight to finish on, is we've been delighted to finally announce that we are the fleet electrification partner for Amazon. So we installed over 1,000 chargers in the first year. We've got thousands more scheduled in the rest of our implementation program. But again, even more excitingly, our fleet management software is operating and supporting their fleet management operations right across Europe. So the pace of the hardware and software development, the pace of the vehicle development is all continues to make this a really exciting place to be. And we've moved on significantly from those conversations 10 years ago where people are going, oh, it's not really going to take off, is it? To, oh, I really want to talk to you about EV charging. So I think the key for this session is been really exciting to hear other people's journeys around talent acquisition. I think it's a huge focus for EO in the region this year. I think it's really exciting to see that there are organisations that are focused on developing the talent in the regions that we need, so that we continue to invest in building our team, and we're not always talking about offshoring to fill development needs. So thank you. Thanks for inviting me along today. It's been really interesting to hear the other speakers, and I look forward to some questions.
Thanks, Anne. And yeah, and really good to understand a bit more about EO Charging's plans and model. And I think what you said about the shift from hardware to sort of software and services, well, that's clearly been the case in you know, several other examples. I think EPOS now is probably a good example of that sort of convergence and that shift. The race is on, you know, clearly for you all to find the software developers and the talent that you need to keep on growing. And it's clearly incumbent on us all to try and get the message across to those partners in education where we can. I mean, we are now on 23, 24 minutes past 10, and I am very, very keen as ever to land this plane dead on 10:30 so you can all get away. But I mean, we have got time for a couple of questions. I mean, I've got a couple prepared if no one's feeling very brave. But you know, we've heard a lot about talent. I mean, I'd be very interested in hearing from the businesses what needs to happen to increase the size of that pool of quality talent, other than, you know, hustling, all your businesses hustling for UK talent. I mean, there must be things that we can do. I know Sarah's talked about some of them, but I'll ask that question unless anyone else wants to kind of put their hand up or just come off mute and say and ask something. Do we have a question? No. Babita has asked the question in chat. Are we still competing with London when it comes to talent? So perhaps we could go around, starting with Rob, if he's still here. I mean, you know, to what extent when you have interviews or when you see candidates, are they having to make a toss up between a London job and a job at Naked in Norwich?
Yeah, I think it's really interesting. We've actually employed a couple of engineers actually who are London based, who are living in London and working for us out here in the kind of East based company. So we definitely see it. I don't feel like we compete necessarily. I think the conversations I have with people these days are more about their potential to work remotely. I think that's what people care about the most at the minute. I don't feel, I think perhaps the difference is whether we're seeing a leveling of salaries and things like that is potentially something that we'll see, because there is now no reason really to be paid more in London or not. So it levels the playing field a bit, but I don't feel like I'm necessarily competing with people saying I want to work in London. I think they care about, they want to work flexibly, they want to work remotely. We can offer them that, and that's certainly a kind of a feather in our cap in that argument.
Good stuff. So death of the London waiting.
Yeah, I think so. Or maybe just a national waiting.
Or the national waiting. Anyone else want to kind of add in on that from the speaker panel?
Yeah, I'd like to. I think for us, we've hired about 250 people in the last 12 months. You know, I think about 12 new countries, but we've had to fight quite hard to not compete with London, but to bring those people in. But the pandemic has definitely worked in our favour. Rob, you sort of touched on it, that you know, people don't want to live in the inner city anymore. I'm sure some of us have worked in the middle of London. It's not that fun. Young people do it because it looks pretty, but it's really not that fun. It's long hours and tough. So we found in the last 6 months there's a lot of people leaving London and other urban areas like Manchester to come to East of England, specifically one low cost base, you know, better living, I guess, lifestyle, and little things like that allow us to attract new talent. In terms of the leveling up, Rob, again, you're spot on. Actually, it's all worked against us in that the salaries that we need to offer are going the wrong way, I guess. You know, one of the benefits of being a Norwich business 10 years ago was that you knew the cost base, the operating costs were lower. There was lots of available talent. That's going the other way, but we've done a lot. We've introduced team equity, so that as you join the organisation, 5% of your salary is then represented as share value on day one. So we've introduced a couple of new schemes to bring in that talent from London, and combined with the impact of the pandemic and people wanting a better lifestyle, we're starting to slowly see that pain go away. But it's easing off.
Great. Well, I'm glad to hear it. John Best's got his hand up. Question, John.
Yeah, thanks. It's been a fascinating, second one of these I've been in and listened to. It's been a fascinating presentation today. I'm aware of Sarah and I've done some work with her in the past, but I would challenge all of the entrepreneurs here to say, how are you starting with the end in mind? We're talking about people that have got PhDs, that have got masters, but you know, we need to be starting at sort of 13, 14. How do we actually engage with those younger people to gain that excitement so that they're almost, Charlie, as you said, that you're buying in, you've got new ways of keeping people in by giving them a share option. It's almost starting with a share option at a very early age. How do you grow the future talent pipeline that you need so that they're actually, as Carlos said, seduced by the industry? There's an open question.
Darren, do you want to say something to that? I mean, how far into the how far back or far forward do you need to look from a VividQ point of view, do you think?
Well, we haven't looked for that far back, but I of course have opinions on this. I think in the UK we have a real problem, especially around mathematics. For some reason, UK kids tend to have something I refer to as maths fear. And I don't know, it seems to inflict a large proportion of them. And it's not so prevalent on the continent. And the maths education there is significantly better. The things that some of my Eastern European colleagues did in school were things I didn't see until first or second year university. And it gives them a massive leg up when it comes to technical things like programming or any scientific concepts. They can just handle more earlier on. And I don't know what the intrinsic issue is in the British system that causes this, that causes so many kids to be switched off from more mathematical disciplines so early. But this is a real problem, I think, for getting people into those more technical things later on and making sure we have a sustainable supply of developers and tech experts and engineers that we'll need to be able to do really anything in the future, because so much will be dependent on people with highly advanced technical skills. So yeah, that's my feeling. I don't know how to solve it.
Darren, I was just wanted to pick up on that because it's fascinating. I work in the energy industry, and yesterday we celebrated the 20th year of EAGA, the East of England Energy Group. And what's actually been happening is a transition from energy to electrification and electricity. And every single one of you with computers are absolutely totally reliant on reliable generation. And electrification. And I think there's a current, sorry, pun intended, all the way through that actually reliable electricity, the ability just to have what you need where, and in some of her charging stuff. But I just think there's a common thread through all of the things that are going on here about we've taken stuff for granted for so long. And maybe there's an opportunity through energy transition to bring some of these strands together.
No, if I can add just a quick note, I think so I'm originally from Portugal, so I was exposed to an European education system in a couple of countries and then moved to the UK. I do think that it is a European issue from not just a UK issue, where especially in South Europe, where the application of education is really something that kids aren't exposed to, maybe until uni. So the actual practical aspect of why I should have been involved in statistics and economics, finance, mathematics a lot earlier in my education, almost was just because of family relationships to the mathematics field. But the practical application of education is very, very, very poor. There is that then transitions into a lack of supposed talent in digital fields and mathematical fields, because they just don't see the point. Education shows them a side of things that is purely theoretical, and the application of the real world work is nowhere to be seen in education. Sometimes even after uni, we get a lot of uni graduates that get to training programs and they're like newborns. They know nothing about what they're supposed to be doing, and that's okay to an extent. But I think that lack of exposure to real work and to real application of why I should be interested in this really basic fundamental thing is something that we really should have more in education, even if that is shorter place.
I totally agree with you, and I don't want to fall out with Tim because we've gone 3 minutes over. It's 10:30. But
it's okay. It's interesting. Let's let it run for a bit.
Yeah, if we connect up, Tim, I'll share some information about our internship program.
Thank you.
Which I call More Than 20 Days. And it's very simple that 17 and 18-year-olds get an opportunity to work in a practical applied situation where they're able to actually use their STEM skills, but see the soft skills that go with them, which are fantastic. One of our very first ones was Flick, who was 17-year-old. What do you want to do when you leave school, college, Flick? Oh, I don't know, maybe do geology and study rocks. Okay, why is that? Well, I don't really think I know anything much else. I like physics and maths though, but I'm no good. What do you mean you're no good? Well, I've been told I'm no good. We gave her a 20-day internship designing a gangway down in Lowestoft to go from a vessel to a quayhead. Last year, she passed out with a first-class honours degree in physics, and she's now working as a project engineer. And it was just the fact that she got it in 20 days because the maths was applied. A gangway had length, it had weight, it had bending forces. She got it. And Carlos, you're absolutely right. It's linking the academic side with the applied side, and that so much more needs to be done on that.
I think
Sorry, I batted on. I do apologise.
The last part to add to that is a lot of us have relationships with, I assume, the UEA or the University of Suffolk or Essex, and it's really easy to build those relationships at universities. But I don't see, schools coming forward with that, traditional schools or academies. I came through a business school in Hertfordshire, and we as a business academy, we had relationships with businesses, but not every school has that privilege. I think we as businesses have to take some responsibility to
Absolutely.
try and work with our local schools. Why can't EPOS now work with the Norwich High School? I don't see why not. But the second thing is, Laura, you posted a question about the marketing effort on selling but not jobs. Now, I worked at Zoopla in London, and they own Uswitch. They dominate the entire property market. If you look on their careers site, they actually explain to a person how they can create a career, not just at Zoopla, but anywhere. So if I'm in school, unless I want to be a nurse, a lawyer, a doctor, actually, I don't know how to become a project manager in school. I don't know how to do this, that, and the other thing. And again, EPOS now, we're about to launch a careers site that explains how people can come into our contact center from hospitality. So I've been working in a restaurant for 2 years. I now understand EPOS Now's customers because I've been one. How I can come into the contact center and create a career as a business analyst. So again, I think the second thing is for us is to, I guess, educate people using our websites and other platforms to tell people how to create their own careers. Because I enjoyed maths, but I didn't know what careers I could take.
Yeah, you should all be talking to Sarah. I mean, I think there's a missing link there between the application. People sort of say gaps before, like as if, what's that? And these two different silos. We all work in far too many silos, but the interconnection, Charlie, you've just put your finger right on it. I think there's almost a social responsibility for businesses, like to pay your taxes, to do things right, and to put 5% of what you actually earn back into creating the pipework of talent.
Brilliant. This is a brilliant conversation, which we could go on for all the rest of the morning and the afternoon for, probably, no doubt. Obviously, from a Tech East point of view, we are very, very interested in sharing things that are working with government, so that they will actually further support some of this activity. It is difficult, skills, talent, very, very lot of noise and a lot of, and I get very confused, and I've been working in this area for a few years now. But what I would say is, it's wonderful to hear that businesses do have an appetite to engage more with schools, colleges, universities. It is incumbent on, I think, more businesses to do that, but it's got to be a seduction game. It's not something that's got to be seen as an add-on or a painful additional responsibility. And I think with same as schools, there's lots of appetite to reach out, but not necessarily understanding of the landscape. But that's one of the things that we exist to try and help with at Tech East, and there are lots of others who do too. And I know Hayley from the LEP has been on the call, and there are many of us working in and around talent and skills. So it's been a really good conversation. It's not quite what I expected us to land on at the end of this, because we were talking about, the 12 classes of tech report and, what an amazing place this is. And we've ended up having a wonderful conversation, as is often the case. A wonderful conversation emerged about talent, and I'm delighted that happened. So we have now lost some people because we've run massively over time, and I apologize for that. But that wouldn't have happened were it not for the sort of vibrant conversation that was going on. And I would just like to thank all of our speakers. I'm not going to go through them all name by name. I'm not going to do that. We've had, we've had 6 fantastic speakers from 5 fantastic businesses. We've had Toby sharing his insights from Jefferson Frank, and very relevant they were too. We've had wonderful contribution and participation from the audience. And it only remains for me then to say, we'll see you in a fortnight's time. We are planning the next Tech and Toast. We haven't quite decided what it's going to be about. Perhaps it should be about talents and skills again. I mean, that seems to be a popular one. But brilliant. And thank you all. And do check out the report if you haven't read it. I hope you have a very nice rest of Friday, a warm and sunny weekend. And I wish you all good morning. Goodbye. See you soon.
See you later.
Bye,
Cheers.
everyone.